My parents tried to sell my cabin, just to buy a house for my pregnant sister. Mom snapped, "You never use it anyway." So I sold it first, in secret. 2 weeks later, Dad broke in. Not realizing the new owner was a sheriff. "Robert, you're being selfish!" Mom's hand came down hard on the table. The glass of water tipped, spilling across the wood, dripping onto the floor. Nobody moved to clean it. "You don't even use that cabin!" Hannah snapped. She was sitting back in the chair, one hand on her stomach, the other waving around like she owned the whole house. "I need a home for my baby. Why can't you see that? Why should it just sit there when I need it more than you?" Her words cut sharp, but she wasn't done. "You've never done anything for this family, Robert. Not one thing." Dad's chair creaked as he leaned forward, red in the face, eyes locked on me. "You've been dead weight since you turned 18. Always taking, never giving. You're lucky we even let you hold on to that place this long. Don't act like you earned it." I stayed still, my hands pressed into my knees so tight my knuckles turned white. My silence made them angrier. I knew that, but silence was all I had. Hannah smirked when she saw I wouldn't answer. She leaned in close, her voice a whisper but sharp enough for everyone to hear. "Maybe if you weren't such a failure, Dad wouldn't even have to sell your cabin." And the room went quiet. All of them staring at me, like they were waiting for me to crack, to shout, to beg. My name is Robert Hale. I'm 26 years old. I've been the quiet one all my life. The background. The afterthought. The one they could use when they needed something, and the one they could blame when things went wrong. I learned young that if I kept my head down, if I stayed quiet, things passed quicker. Less yelling, less disappointment. But silence isn't weakness. It's storage. I carried every word they ever threw at me. I remembered every time I was left behind, every time Hannah got what she wanted, and I was told to understand. And sitting in that kitchen, their voices bouncing off the walls, I felt it, the weight of all those years pressing on me. But what they didn't know, I wasn't the same boy anymore. I had made a choice weeks ago, a choice that would change everything. Family members introduced Dad, Frank Hale, 58. His voice was always the loudest in any room, even when there was no reason to shout. A man who thought anger was authority. He worked hard, yes. But love? It never showed. He gave orders, not comfort. He raised us with fear, not care. Mom, Elaine, 55, always crying, tears on command. She made excuses for everyone but me. If Hannah yelled, "She's stressed." If Dad lost control, he's tired. But when I went quiet, she said, "Robert, stop sulking. You make things worse." Sister, Hannah, 29. She was the golden one. She was the reason Dad smiled, the reason Mom prayed out loud at the dinner table. When she failed, they called it a mistake. When I failed, they called it proof. Now she was pregnant, and in their eyes, that gave her full ownership of my life too. And me, Robert, sitting there, watching, always watching, never truly seen. But tonight, I noticed something different. They weren't just fighting for Hannah's future. Someone was hiding something else. "It's already decided," Dad said, folding his arms like the matter was closed. "We're selling the cabin. The paperwork's in motion. End of discussion." His words made my chest tighten. "Paperwork? Without me?" "You can't just," I began, but Hannah jumped in. "Yes, they can. You don't even care about it. You never go there. You never do anything with it. It's wasted on you." Her voice was sharp, but I caught something in Mom's. She slipped just for a second. "We need the money," she whispered, eyes darting away. I froze. That wasn't about Hannah's baby. That wasn't about a house. That was about something else. My silence kept the room heavy. They thought I was breaking. They thought I was weak. But inside I was smiling, because they had no idea the cabin wasn't theirs to sell. "You always take her side," I said suddenly, my voice cutting through the chaos. It was quiet for the first time all night. Dad blinked, surprised I even spoke. "Because she deserves it," he shouted finally. "And I don't?" The air froze. Mom stared at the floor. Hannah scoffed. "You've done nothing with your life," Hannah hissed. "Nothing! And now you're mad because Dad is finally giving me what I deserve? Grow up, Robert. Nobody cares about your feelings." Her words should have stung, but they didn't. Not anymore, because I was holding the one card she didn't know existed. I leaned forward, calm, controlled. "Funny thing, Hannah," I said slowly. "You think the cabin is still mine." And for the first time that night, it was her turn to look afraid. 3 years ago, I was in the garage with Dad. He had just come home from work, grease still on his shirt. He looked at me, disappointment on his face like it lived there. "You're nothing but a burden," he said, voice low but heavy. "You'll never make it. That cabin should have gone to Hannah from the start. You'll waste it, just like you've wasted everything else." I wanted to fight back, but I didn't. I just kept tightening the wrench in my hand, pretending I didn't hear him. Later that night, I overheard Mom talking on the phone. "Frank's right," she whispered to whoever was listening. "Robert doesn't have what it takes." That was the night I drove to the cabin. I slept on the cold wooden floor, staring at the beams above me. The smell of cedar, the wind rattling the windows. And I made myself a promise. One day, I'd make sure they could never take it from me. Back in the kitchen, I leaned back, letting the silence burn them. "You can't sell the cabin," I said finally. Dad's face twisted. "Watch me." But I didn't look at him. I looked at Hannah, then Mom, then back to Dad. And I smiled. "You can't," I said again, "because I already sold it. 2 weeks ago." Mom gasped. Hannah's hand shot to her mouth. Dad's face drained of color. "But I wasn't finished. And the new owner," I paused, "she's a sheriff. Which means last week, when you broke in thinking you still had the right, you weren't sneaking into my cabin. You were breaking into hers." The silence was louder than their shouting had ever been. Then the storm hit. Mom was crying. "Frank, what did you do? Oh my God, what did you do?" Hannah shrieked. "You ruined everything, Robert! You ruined my future!" Dad's fists hit the table. "You snake! You ungrateful little snake!" The house felt like it was caving in, their voices layered on top of each other, every word more desperate, more broken. But I stood, calm, steady. My chair screeched against the floor, and when they finally noticed me standing there, I said it. "I gave you all my silence. Tonight, I give you the truth." Then I walked out. The sound of the front door shutting was the only peace I'd felt in years. The night air wrapped around me. Cold, sharp, but free. I could still hear them inside, yelling, accusing, blaming. But for once, those voices weren't mine to carry. I walked to my car, keys in hand. Mom rushed out behind me, tears streaking her face. "Robert, wait. Please." I stopped, my back to her. She sounded so small, so desperate, but I didn't turn around. They'll never see me the same again, I thought. And I don't need them to. The car door opened with a heavy click, and when I drove away, the weight of 26 years lifted off my chest. Weeks later, I sat by the river near the cabin, or what used to be mine. The sheriff let me visit sometimes. She said she respected what I did, walking away instead of fighting dirty. I watched the water, smooth, endless, moving forward no matter what stood in its way. I thought about my family, still broken, still blaming, but not my problem anymore. I whispered to myself. For the first time, I don't carry their weight anymore. And for the first time, I smiled. Not because everything was better, but because I finally was. If you were in my place, would you forgive them? Or would you walk away forever? Tell me in the comments. Your voice matters here. If you felt Robert's pain, hit like. Subscribe for more stories like this, about silence, strength, and survival. Share your thoughts, because healing starts when we speak.